Hello students, so today we're going to go over the microbit thermometer lesson that we began in class, and I just kind of want to go over everything with you in case you need to catch up or do some of the work at home on your own time. So we're introducing you guys to these microbits that have a lot of capabilities, and we're trying to apply them to water treatment and water quality. So you guys are going to be growing bacteria in your culture plates, and we want to monitor the temperature that these bacteria are being exposed to while you grow them. Because like we've gone over, certain bacteria like warmer temperatures, like if you were to do a swab of your mouth and put it on the plate, you might want to keep it in something a little warmer, close to body temperature. But if you swab something like from your sink or one of your water samples, it might be best to store it somewhere around room temperature. Because if we store it in places that are too hot or way too cold, you might not get as much growth as you want. So we're going to program the microbits to let us know what are these extreme temperatures we're exposing it to, the maximum temperatures and the minimum temperatures. So we are going to be utilizing the microbit's temperature sensor inside of its CPU to measure temperature in degrees Celsius. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up this website. It's makecode.microbit.org. And we're going to go down here and you'll see this My Project section. So you can see I already have some projects that I've created in the past, but I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to title this project Thermometer. And I'm going to put lesson on mine, but you don't have to put lesson. And we're going to push this little create with a check mark. And this is like our worktop right here. So we've got this workspace, this big open space that has these blue on, start, and forever blocks. We have all these tabs that have different code that we can use. It's already been coded, and it's in these nice blocks. So how it'll say, like, if you click basic, here you can see it says show number, show LEDs, so we can grab these to do the action rather than having to type out the code by hand. And then all the way over to your left, you'll see that there's a virtual microbit or a simulator microbit so that you can run the code virtually on a simulation before you download it to your microbit to make sure that it's working. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to move my forever block as far right as I can just to kind of get it out of the way. And we're going to be working on this on start block. This means this is the code that's going to run as soon as you turn it on. So first thing we want to do is create some variables. So variables are the unknown quantities that we are trying to quantify, understand, and analyze. So what we're trying to understand is the temperature. So we want to know what is the current temperature, and is that current temperature a maximum or a minimum? So what we're going to do is here you'll see this variables tab. It'll have variables and it'll have these 4 lines right next to it. We're going to click it. And it's empty, right? It just says make a variable because we have to tell them what we want to focus on. So what we're going to do is click make a variable. And the first one we want to do is current space temperature. So what is the current temperature? And click OK. And now you'll see there's these new blocks that we have. And we're going to use these in a little bit, so you don't have to worry about them too much. Next, we're going to make 2 more variables. So you're going to click make a variable again, and we're going to type in maximum or max if you prefer. And click OK. And make a variable and type in minimum. Oops. Minimum. Or you can put min if you prefer that. And then we're going to click OK. And so now you can see we have these 3 new variables. So first what we're going to do is we're going to set our variable to be the current temperature. That's what we're going to look at first. So you're going to grab this, mine says set minimum to 0. Yours might say something other than minimum, but we want to grab this set something to 0 block. And you'll know it's ready to grab when it highlights in yellow or an outline. You're going to grab it and you'll be able to move it around. It'll be kind of see-through. And you'll know that it's nestled into the on start properly because 1, the shapes are the same, so it fits. But also when it's nestled, you'll hear this click noise. And that's how you know it's put in place and it's no longer see-through. What we want to do is we want to look at the current temperature first, not the minimum. So you'll see this little drop-down arrow next to minimum. You're going to click that arrow, and you'll see this drop-down menu of all the variables that we've made already. And so we're going to click current temperature, and it'll change that little block to current temperature. So we're setting current temperature to 0. We don't want it to be 0. We want it to be some kind of unit. We want it to read in degrees Celsius. So what we're going to do is go over to this input tab that has like the circle with a smaller circle inside of it. We're going to click that. And we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see this temperature degrees Celsius block that's kind of like an oval. You're going to grab that, and you'll see that the 0 is also in an oval. So it's the same shape, so it should fit in there, and you'll see it also try to grab. You see this like 2 circles with a line, and then put that right there. So as soon as we turn our microbit on, we want it to read current temperatures in degrees Celsius. We also want it to read maximum and minimum temperatures from those readings. So we're going to go back to our variables, and we're going to grab another set blank to 0, and we're going to nestle it underneath. So you'll see it open up, and now we can put it right underneath the one we just coded. And we want to set minimum to, well, not 0. We want the minimum temperature to come from those current temperature readings. So we're going to go back to variables and grab a current temperature that's like an oval shape and put that where the 0 is. So we're saying we're going to read current temperatures as Celsius, and some of those temperatures might be a minimum. So our minimum temperature has to come from those readings. We want to do the same thing for maximum. So we could go back and forth and grab blocks and move things around. But to save time and save some confusion, we're actually going to hover over the word set in that last block we used, and we're going to right click. So right click, you'll see that there's these new options that come up that might be helpful. Add a comment, delete a block, help. What we want to do is click duplicate. It's like our copy paste feature. So we're going to duplicate, and you'll see that it recreated it, and it's kind of see-through. It's got these lines through it. We want to nestle it at the bottom right here, and we're going to change minimum. We're going to use that drop-down menu to just change it to maximum. So that saved us some time and hopefully some confusion, and we will use this right-click duplicate tool in the future as well. So now that we've recorded the code in our onStart block, we're going to work on the code in our forever block. So I've moved my forever block just right below my onStart block. And what we're going to put in here is that now that our microbit is measuring our current temperature, and it knows that those current temperatures can be maximums or minimums, we want to code how it tells if it's going to be a maximum or minimum. So we're going to go and first thing we're going to do is go up to this set current temp to temperature Celsius that we first coded. And we're going to hover over the set, and we're going to do a right click duplicate. And we're going to put that inside our forever block, just so that it's also setting those temperatures to degrees Celsius. Next thing we want to do is we're going to go over to this logic tab that has like these 2 arrows. And we're going to grab a block that says if true then. Not this one that says if true else. We don't want that one. We want this first one, if true then. We're going to grab it. We're going to put it right underneath that set current temp inside our forever block. And we don't want just like something that's true. We want to compare something that's greater than or less than, right? Because maximum, minimum, we're dealing with greater than or less than. So we're going to go back to logic. We're going to scroll down, and we see that this first section was conditionals, and now we also have comparisons. We want to grab this comparison that has the less than. And we're going to put that where the true statement is. You can see they're both kind of these hexagonal shapes, so it should fit right there. And kind of just follow along for a moment. We'll summarize the logic when we're done, but we're going to go through the motions for now. So the first 0 is going to be replaced with a current temperature. So we're going to go back to our variables. We're going to grab current temperature as an oval shape and put that in the first 0. And the second 0, we're going to go back to variables, and we're going to grab a minimum oval. And put that right there. Then we're going to go back to our on start area, and we're going to use that duplicate feature to save some time and confusion. And we're going to hover over the set that has the minimum, and we're going to duplicate it. And we're going to nestle that right inside our if block. So what we've done is we have said that in the forever loop, we want it to read the current temperature as degrees Celsius. And if the current temperature that's being read is less than the previous minimum temperature, then we want that to be our new minimum temperature. Let me just repeat that. If we have our current reading less than the previous minimum temperature, that will be our new minimum temperature. Okay? So we want to do that as well for the maximum, right? If our current temperature is greater than the maximum temperature that we've read so far, we want it to be our new maximum temperature. And again, we could go through the if loop, grab all these different blocks and do it, or we could hover over the if, right-click duplicate, and we're going to nestle that inside. You'll see this little error symbol, and that's just because it sees that we've repeated things. What we're going to do is we're going to change that less than symbol to a greater than, so that it's open towards current temp. And we're going to change all of our minimums to maximums using the drop-down menus. So now if our current temperature is greater than the previously measured maximum, that will be our new maximum. Oops, it looks like I've actually nestled my if block inside my other one. We actually want that below the other one. Sorry about that. So we want the if blocks not to be inside each other, but one on top, one below, inside the forever block. That was my mistake. So this will just kind of keep going in a loop. So it'll just continue to measure those temperatures and sort them for us. So what we want to do is we want to know, how do we know that it's properly running through this over and over and over again, right? We want to have some kind of visual indicator. So you'll notice on your microbit, and I can show you here on this virtual one, you can see this grid of LED lights. We're going to use that grid as a visual indicator that our code is running. So first thing we want to do is we're going to go to the basic tab at the top that has these 9 squares next to it. And we're going to grab a show LEDs block. And we're going to put that at the top of our forever block, even above the set current temperature, all the way at the top in the forever block. And you can make any design you want. You can make this a line across or an X across, right? And it'll light up those LEDs in the design that you create. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to make it one dot right in the middle. Saves energy, makes it simple. And you can see on my microbit to the side on the website, there's one block lit up, or one LED lit up. So that means as soon as this code in the forever block starts, one LED will light up. And so we also want it to tell us, well, what about when it's at the end? When it's at the end, I want that LED to blink. And one way to make it blink is we're going to use a code that clears the LED screen, waits a second, and then it'll start the loop back over. So by clearing the screen, it'll make it look like it blinked. How we're going to do that is we are going to go back to our basic. And if you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see this pause, MS100. So that's saying pause for so many milliseconds, which is 1,000th of a second. So we're going to grab that and we're going to put that at the bottom of our forever block below both of our if loops, or sorry, if statements. So we are going to, instead of like 100 milliseconds, I'm going to make it 1 second so you can kind of touch the little 100 and it'll show you all these options. I'm going to click 1 second. So that means it'll run the code, it'll wait a second, and then I'm going to go to basic and scroll down and you'll see this clear screen. We're going to grab that and put that underneath. So it'll clear the screen, it'll get rid of that light. And then I want it to pause 1 more second before it runs through the whole forever loop all over again. So I'm going to right click the pause, duplicate, and where did it go? There it is. and nestle that right underneath the clear screen. So that means my microbit will do the on start as soon as it turns on, and then over and over again, it'll run this forever loop where every time it takes a temperature reading, it'll sort it. When it's done sorting, it'll pause, get rid of that light, pause again, and the light will come back. So it'll blink. Every time it goes through a forever loop, it blinks. And you can see in my simulator on the side, the light is blinking, and we have this little bar. This is 21 degrees C, and that's like changing the temperature on the simulator. So each time I change the temp, it should blink because it's sorting it. So now that we've coded our on start block and our forever block, we're going to start working on how to actually read out these temperatures. So we know that our code is taking temperatures and organizing them as max and mins, but we want to read what those numbers are. We're going to do this by using the buttons on your microbit. So you'll see on the microbit that you have in person or here on the simulator, there's button A that you can press and button B that you can press. And we want to do it to where if you press button A, it reads out the minimum temperature recorded so far. And if you press button B, it'll be the maximum temperature that's been recorded so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up in my little workplace till I can see the on start all over again. And we're going to go over to this input tab that has like the circle with the smaller circle inside of it. And you can see that you have on button A pressed, on shake, on pin. So you can even shake the microbit to initiate some code, or you can use the pins, which is where you would hook up things like motors and speakers. But today we're just going to use the buttons. So we're going to grab this first block that says on button A pressed. And I'm going to place it right over here in my little workplace area. And we want it to read out one of the temperatures. So I'm going to go over to basic, the basic tab that has the 9 squares next to it. And I'm going to grab this first block that says show number. I'm going to put that in there. And the number I want it to show is my minimum temperature. So I'm going to go over to variables, and I'm going to grab that minimum block that looks kind of like an oval, and I'm going to put it where the 0 is. So now when I press button A, it should show me the minimum temperature. But I don't want it to just keep reading the minimum temperature over and over. I just want it to show one time and then go away. So we're going to use that clear screen block one more time. So we're going to go over to basic, and we're going to grab this clear screen block and place it right underneath show number. So if I go over to my simulator, I can change the temperature up and down, and when I press the A button, it should show me the minimum temperature read so far, which was 8 degrees Celsius. I want it to do that for the maximum when I press button B. So we can utilize that duplicate feature again, and we're going to hover over where it says on button and right click duplicate. And it's translucent because it's repeating everything, so it won't necessarily work. But once we go over to that drop down menu by the A and change it to a B, and we change minimum with the drop down menu to maximum, now we can go over to our simulator, make the temperature up and down all over again, just kind of play with that, and then press button B, and it'll read that maximum temperature, and then it'll go back to the flashing light. So it looks like this one is 37 degrees. So now that we're done with our code, we want to actually download it to our microbit. So you're going to plug in your microbit to your computer using the USB cable given. The micro USB side will fit into your microbit at the top, as you can see in my screen. And you'll plug the USB into your computer. And you'll see the yellow light on the back of your microbit light up. That means that it's on. And we're going to go down on our Make Code website here and see that at the bottom of your screen there's a download button. You can press download, and it should download it to like your downloads folder of your computer, and you can drag and drop it to your microbit, or you can pair your microbit and it'll download automatically. Mine is paired, so now that it's been downloaded, I'll show you what it'll look like as it's downloading. So you can see on my microbit, I have that yellow light on the back that's on. And you can kind of see on my screen that when I'm downloading something, that yellow light flashed a little bit. And so it's going to flash whenever it's downloading. And when it's done downloading, it'll stop flashing. And I also know it's running fine because on the front of my microbit, when I turn it around, there's that single blinking light that I programmed. So I know that it's currently taking temperature readings while I'm holding it and sorting them out. And if I press one of the buttons, it reads a temperature to me. And if I press the other button, it'll read a temperature. And it's okay if those temperatures are the same right now or just slightly different because we haven't really moved around to different areas. But what you're gonna do now that you know you've pressed your buttons, you've tested out that it's on there, you can unplug it and you're going to plug it into your battery pack with the batteries inside. So you'll see this little white end and it's gonna plug into your microbit right here. So once again, my light is blinking on the front. This yellow light on the back is not on. That's okay. We just need this blinking light on the front and we can start pressing the buttons just to make sure. And now that it's plugged in to your battery pack, you're going to take this battery pack and you're going to place it wherever you're storing your culture plates so that you can record your max and min temperatures on your sheet. And you can even download this to a second microbit with another battery pack if you want to, if you have the supplies, in case you're storing your culture plates in 2 different locations and want to record those temperatures as well. Just to recap what we've done today, first you want to write out your code and then download it to your microbit. Next, connect your microbit to your battery pack and place it wherever you're storing your culture plates. And finally, start recording those temperature readings on your handout. Please feel free to ask questions. You can reach out to your teachers for clarification. You can reach out to us, the facilitators. You can ask questions at the next class. Just make sure that you're taking your time to understand the material and most of all, have fun.